Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We, the affirmative team, insist that it is absolutely necessary to continue learning history because of the many benefits it provides to students. First, history provides information about how the world came to be and the struggles people have gone through in order to create the great nations we have today. Second, we can look to past mistakes to avoid them in the future, as well as look at past successes to emulate them. Finally, we can look at individuals from the past and gain inspiration from them in order to help make the world a better place. History is the summation of our human existence, and to disregard it would belittle and denigrate our ancestors.
Good afternoon, judges, opposition, and audience. We, the negative team, strongly believe that the subject of history should be taken out of our school curriculum. We agree with the definition given by the affirmative team that history is merely a documentation of the past. However, we would like to point out that the documentation of memories and past events are not reliable sources of fact. Humans are not robots, and memories are not definite recordings of the true events. Not only do we question the validity of history as a true representation of past events, we will also argue that it lacks practicality for students to apply these stories to their everyday life. It is amusing to read historical stories as a pastime, but we, the negative team, believe that history as a main subject in school is not very helpful in preparing students for the future. Thank you.
The dictionary definition of history is the study and documentation of the past. It is an umbrella term including past events, memories, cultures, and the organizations of these things. As we get older, we start to see the importance of understanding the past. Past events have displaced families and groups, changing the makeup of regions, sometimes causing persistent tension. Such events affect each person alive today. When we study history, we learn how we got where we are and why we live the way we do. It's the study of us, of humans, and our place in our ever-changing world. Without it, we wouldn't understand all of our triumphs or failures. Thank you.
First of all, history is just like a game of telephone. What are the chances that a person at the end of the line of 100 will say the exact same thing as the first person? For example, in our history textbook, we learned that Paul Revere shouted, "The British are coming! The British are coming!" to warn towns of an imminent attack. However, other sources say that it was impossible for Paul Revere to refer to the English soldiers as the Brits, since some of the colonists would have considered themselves British. This example makes you wonder why we are studying facts that could be wrong. Even with the factual corrections of other historians, we are still just hypothetical. People are attempting to fill the gaps in history with common sense, or their own interpretation or reimagining of the event. If the past documentation could be wrong, how could we use false information to make a better prediction of the future? If you are still not convinced, let's even assume that the evidence or words are magically passed on with complete accuracy. It doesn't change the fact that the evidence is still a collection of past figures with their own agendas. Some historical figures write their own autobiographies for fame or fortune. And of course, They make themselves look as good as possible. Are we supposed to believe the so-called truth from their perspective? Thank you.
Analyzing these ideas help us understand where we've been and make predictions about where we're going. These ideas give us a better understanding of our ancestors, of how their lives were enjoyed and the problems they faced. Many of history's ideas can be helpful on a grander scale as well. We can look back in history to make better decisions to improve the economy or how best to react in a time of war, just like with what is currently happening in Ukraine. History gives us a better understanding of the world and how it operates. When you study a war, you learn more about how conflict escalates. The poor decisions in history provide us with perhaps the most insight and value in today's world. By analyzing poor decisions and their ramifications, we know how to avoid similar situations in the future. Plus, all of those poor ideas eventually led us to the sea of brilliant ones. Thank you.
To make another point, as we have all learned in history, Benjamin Franklin demonstrated the connection between lightning and electricity by using a kite and a key to pick up the electrical charge from the storm. He was also praised as the Newton of electricity from this experiment. History tells us that this is correct, but science proves that it would have been impossible for Franklin to achieve this without himself being electrocuted. Remember that Benjamin Franklin was one of the forefathers of America whose face is also on the $100 bill. Even this historical giant that we often associate integrity and honesty to has altered history. I guess I did learn something from history. Never believe everything you read, and do your own research to make sure what is being presented is true. Secondly, history is not as practical as other subjects. We aren't able to use what we learn in class to explain the phenomenon happening around us. Thus, it has less relevance than other subjects. As Karl Marx once said, history repeats itself, first as tragedy, then as farce. We can analyze past events and try to learn from them, but history doesn't repeat itself, it rhymes. Because of human failures, we aren't able to always make the right decision, even when we have history to guide us. For example, we can learn all about the infamous wars that have occurred throughout history, but knowing these wars and what happened in the wars does not help us at all with how to deal with the current Russo-Ukrainian war that is going on now. Thank you. Today, learning history is about making connections and understanding not just what happened, but why, and taking inspiration from those brave enough to be recorded in history, influential men and women who played major roles in shaping our world. If I may quote Sir Isaac Newton, one of those people whose ideas help us understand the world and the universe around us, if we have seen further, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants. Those who come before us have given us a firm foundation which we can stand and continue to advance society. Take George Washington for example. He may be in a history book as a general and the first president of the United States, but his story has so much more to offer. He was a natural leader outside of war. He was a man of many talents, from surveying and philosophy to bushcraft and farming. His abilities made people look to him as a leader. His desire was to inspire those around him. When he was first chosen to lead the American Army against the British, he believed it would be a suicide mission, but he was still brave enough to face an impossible task. His desire was to inspire those around him and present the idea that the common person can be an inspiration. Let us follow his example and seek to imitate those in history who have done much in shaping our world. Thank you.
Furthermore, the Harvard documentation of the aftermath of the nuclear bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki should discourage other countries from using nuclear weapons. But the weapons we have today are thousands of times more powerful than those that were first dropped on Japan. Therefore, to solve our current problems, perhaps we should search for our answers in other subject areas instead of history. History doesn't provide answers. It merely tells us what happened. It requires further research in other areas of study. In conclusion, if history is not accurate, has no practical use for students, and does not help us solve the problems we face today. Students should spend their time learning about other subjects rather than history to help them excel in the modern world.
As the negative team points out, history is indeed a collection of facts recorded and written by valuable people. History is, as has been said, written by the victor. Because of this, we cannot truly have the full story of what happened in the past. However, it will be fallacious to throw out all of history due to this argument. Should all science be thrown out when new discoveries are made? Such a statement is as preposterous in science as it is in history. History, our history, must remain in school, and we must continue to learn it, as even what we do today will be recorded in history. It is not merely a thing of the past, we are creating it today. Thank you.
我们从哪一边？你们刚刚有稍微听得懂吗？我们来，我来问一下 Mr. Herman，他 Mr. Herman 应该是属于不想要继续上 history 课的。Mr. Herman, what do you think of this matter? Do you wish or not wish to continue teaching history in Abraham?
I teach science, so it's okay.
Okay. But you taught history last year.
I'm glad I'm teaching science this year.
History
has too many dates.
Too many dates. We don't require many dates of memorizations in Abraham. That's true, right? All right. 谢谢G4对我们带来的辩论。